Hello and welcome to episode 90 of Out of State DMing. I'm your host, lluksblackheart. Unfortunately, today both my co-hosts won't be able to make it. So unless things change, it's on me again. Sometimes they aggravate me. But we will continue our conversation on spells. We're still in the days. We're probably not going to be done with this segment of the book for a while. But the next spell is Diminish Plants. This is a transmutation, 3rd level druid, 3rd level ranger. Components are verbal, semantic, divine focus. Casting time, 1 standard action. Range, see text. Target or area, see text. Duration, instantaneous. Saving throw, none. Spell resistance, no. Description. This spell has 2 versions. Prune growth. This version causes normal vegetation, grasses, briars, bushes, creeps, hedges, thistles, trees, vines, and so forth within long range to shrink to about 1/3 of their normal size, becoming untangled and less bushy. The affected vegetation appears to have been carefully pruned and trimmed. At your option, the area can be 100-foot radius circle, a 150-foot semicircle, or a 250-foot radius quarter circle. You may also designate portions of the area that are unaffected. The second version is stunt growth. This version targets normal plants within a range of a quarter mile, reducing their potential productivity over the course of the following year to 1/3 below normal. Diminish plants counters plant growth. This spell has no effect on plant creatures. Pretty much meaning if you're trying to be that bad guy and you want a kingdom to suffer, go after their farmlands with this spell, because it's a quarter of a mile, which is 2,000 at like 2,640 feet, which is a huge radius, and you diminish it to so that way they have diminishing output, which could trigger a famine or drastically hike up prices, making people still technically starve because they can't afford what food is available, because there is not enough food to go around. And if you know that they're using plant growth, well, you can counter it with diminished plant. But the primary function is the prune growth, where you hit an area and everything is 1/3 their normal size, becoming untangled and less pushy, and the effective education appears to have been carefully pruned and trimmed, which pretty much means you're getting rid of bushes because they're no longer a problem. Trees, shrubberies, any sort of vegetation that technically counts as in your way that would reduce your travel speed or whatever you're trying to do in that specific area, which you can either have it be a 100-foot radius circle, a 150 semicircle, which is pretty much half a circle, or a 200-foot radius quarter circle, which is more like a cone. So you can just have a more directed approach be easier to get through than normal, which can be great for maintaining a castle, a keep, or just making an area look nicer and easier to travel through for other people because you're making it easier. But it's a great raid because it doesn't affect plant creatures to tell what's a plant creature. Because if you're like, I suspect there's plant creatures in here, diminish plants. Bam. Well, these trees and stuff have just been reduced to 1/3 their size, as it does state, trees. And you look over and you see that there's multiple trees that haven't been pruned. Well, they're in the affected zone, which means immediately those are plant creatures. And if you know anything about D&D, if you do something like that where all these trees are now 1/3 their size and you see a bunch of trees unaffected, well, those are treants and they're about ready to curb stomp you. Why? Because they're treants. They don't like it when you mess with their woods. So it is a be careful when doing it, but at the same time, because this is not a combat spell, this is I want an area to be easier to fight in, because like respecting combat, or you're trying to be that guy that ruins agriculture, there's really no use for this spell. Because again, you're ruining crops or just making an area easier to fight in when you're expecting to fight in that area. So there's really no wide array of uses for this spell. But if you guys have any questions about diminished plants, please leave a comment. The next spell is a spell that either pisses people off because they can't seem to get it to work because they forget that a will save and throw negates it. 2, get pissed off when it doesn't work because if a person isn't lying, it's just not going to work. Or gets upset because wording is everything, and technically, if I speak no lies, nothing you do is going to be able to see through it because I'm speaking no lies. And this spell is Discern Lies. It is a divination, 4th level cleric, 3rd level paladin. Components are verbal, semantic, divine focus, casting time 1 action, range close. Target 1 creature per level, no 2 of which can be more than 30 feet apart. Duration, concentration up to 1 round a level. Saving throw negates. Spell resistance, none. Description: each round you concentrate on one subject who must be within range. You know if a subject deliberately and knowingly speaks a lie by discerning disruptions. English, I swear to speak it. Disruptions in its aura caused by lying. This spell does not reveal the truth, uncover unintended inaccuracies, or necessarily reveal evasions. Each round you may concentrate on a different target. Pretty much meaning this spell, you can affect multiple targets. They all have to be within 30 feet of each other, of course. So technically, if there's a crowd of them, pick the center person, everyone 15 feet of it. You can only concentrate on a single person at a time because it does state you concentrate on one subject. Now, the problem is, and with the spell, is the subject pretty much has to knowingly and deliberately speak a lie. Meaning, if the henchman doesn't know that he's telling you a lie, he's not lying because he doesn't know it's a lie. To him, it's the truth because he knows. So if the necromancer says he's going to leave the phylactery in the deepest bowels of the dungeon, because that's where he hid it, and he tells 5 minions, well, those 5 minions are going to think that that's where he put it, because to them it's not a lie. They're being told the truth. So if you discern lies, though, it doesn't matter if you've already searched that area or you go and search it and come back. It doesn't matter because as far as he's concerned, he told you the truth because he did not knowingly or deliberately lie to you. And just like the spell states, if a person does lie, it doesn't tell you what the truth is. It just goes, that's a lie. Not, oh, that's a lie because here's the truth. And there's multiple people that confuse that. Because they automatically assume that, well, I'm discerning his lie, so I know the truth. It's like, that's not how the spell works. And if a person is being evasive with their actions that technically don't count as the truth or a lie, they're technically not lying. They may not necessarily be being truthful, but they're not lying. So if the person goes, if you go, where's the phylactery? And the minion goes, somewhere here. Well, he's not lying. If he goes, somewhere, he's not, again, he's not lying. He's not deliberately lying. He's technically telling the truth because she's not lying. But a lot of people go, oh no, he's lying. It's like, no, he's not. He's telling the truth. He's literally saying it's somewhere. That's correct. It is somewhere. He's just not telling you. And you can answer a question with a question. So if you go, where's the phylactery? And he goes, which one? Whose phylactery? It's like, he's not lying. He's answering with questions. And that right there also pisses a lot of people off. Sorry, I spent the whole day inside and need a drink. So even though this is a decent spell, because it's a 3rd level paladin, 4th level druid spell, but if a person, like I said, if a person isn't technically lying, the spell doesn't work because, well, I mean, the spell's still working. It's just the spell's not going to tell you something's a lie if it's not a lie. It's not going to go, he's lying. Now I feel like I'm beating a dead horse. So it's the concept of what is a lie, what is a truth, how do you circumvent answering correctly, and then again, if you don't know it's a lie, you're going to speak the truth. Like if someone says the moon, it's like the moon landing never happened. Well, those of us who know that it did happen, but let's say someone was given that information that it was completely and totally fake, and that person who told them that knew it was a lie. Well, the person who they gave the information to is going to act on that information. They're going to go, oh, it's a lie. The certain lies won't go, oh, he's lying. Just to him, he doesn't know he's lying. To him, he's telling the truth. Just to him, that was faked because that's the information he was gotten. So it can real easily upset and offend a lot of people, and I'm not even kidding about that. But if you have any questions about discern lies, please leave a comment. Okay, the next spell, discern location. This is a divination, 8th level cleric, 8th level knowledge domain, 8th level wizard sorcerer spell. Or sorcerer, what's his better? Components are verbal, semantic, divine focus. Casting time 10 minutes, range unlimited, target 1 creature or object. Duration instantaneous, saving throw none, spell resistance no. Description: a discern location spell is among the most powerful means of locating creatures or objects. Nothing short of a mind blank spell or the direct intervention of a deity keeps you from learning the exact location of a single individual or object. Discern location circumvents normal means of protection from scrying or location. This spell reveals the name of the creature or object's location, place name, business's name, building name, or the like, community, country, or similar political division, uh, county and country, continent, and the plane of existence where the target lies. To find a creature with this spell, you must have seen the creature or have some item that once belonged to the creature. To find an object, you must have touched it at least once. So, this object is easily extremely object. This spell is pretty potent. No saving throws, doesn't care about SR, doesn't have a limited range, can tell you what plane of existence the target is bypasses normal means of protection from scrying or location, and can pretty much go, it's here. So it's like getting a direct GPS location on it. The only problem is if you're looking for a creature, you have to have seen them or have an item that once belonged to them. If you have, if you're looking for an object, you have had to have at least touched it once. So even though this is a very, very powerful spell, a potent spell, a useful spell, the limitation literally makes it non-useful. And a lot of people forget that because what the circumstance to make it work is if it's an object, you have had to have touched it at least once. If it's a creature, you have had to have seen them and or, well, not necessarily seen them or have something that used to belong to them. So if you're trying to find the Dread Lich King of the Frozen North, well, if you've never seen them, nor do you have an item that used to belong to them, you can't find him because you haven't seen them and you don't have something that belonged to them. So he's somewhere he's somewhere in a direction. Or if you're trying to find Excalibur and it's not in the rock, it's somewhere else. Well, if you've never touched it, you can't find it. Even though it's a famous sword. You can go, discern location, Excalibur, auto fails. Why? Have you ever touched it? Has any part of you ever come in contact with the sword? Going, well, I touched the rock it was in. That's the rock. Everyone knows where the rock is. But where's the sword? Well, you never touched it, can't find it. That limitation, I've literally seen people, just even though this isn't a very common spell for people to use because they just don't like shortcutting things to actually help them find things. But one of the things is the moment anyone starts to talk about it, people go, well, the DM's a pretty big dick. So unless you've met these extremely stupid circumstances, he can't use the spell. It's like, it's in the spell itself. It's not something that's being added on by a DM. It's not something that was just secretly wrote in. It's right there from the beginning. And part of me wishes that this is one of the spells people just don't read. It's one of those things that they get discouraged by other people who have had it failed, or they try to argue that little section is pointless. Because why have a high level spell have a stupid circumstance that you can't actually do because you have to seen how something belongs to or have touched the object. So that it gets a waste of a spell entirely. Which, to a certain degree, it's not, because it still has its uses, but in it's extremely limited. It's one of those spells that I don't recommend sorcerer wizards taking unless they have items that have belonged to a person they need to find. Or if they're trying to figure out where other party members are. Or if they don't want certain things to have been stolen from them. Because like that's the only reason I think this spell will be useful is the rogue stole a bunch of your stuff. So now you're going to discern a location on where your stuff is. Then you're going to go get it, discern your location on where he is, and seek some revenge. So it's like, great, don't try to steal from me because I have a spell that can let me find you, and it bypasses pretty much anything that stops me from finding you. Even other planes of existence. So outside of that, there's really not a huge use for it. Because a lot of prep and planning goes into it, and I just recommend either finding an item that has it or buying a scroll that has it. Otherwise, it can be a waste of a spell, a known spell, because the circumstances are so limited on when you get to use it. And the ability to know a lot of 8th level spells isn't very high for any of those 3 classes that get access to it. So unless you already are in a campaign where you have something that belongs to the main bad guy, and the main bad guy likes to up and disappear, and you have to spend countless in-game days or weeks trying to re-find them and re-catch up to them and stuff, then this spell helps you out a lot. You already have something that belongs to them, then you get the access to get this spell, and it's like, well, we have it. But then once you've defeated that bad guy, the spell kind of sits there waiting for the perfect opportunity to be used. So my recommendation, get it on a scroll, and just don't forget about those little the little circumstances behind making it work. But if any of you have any questions or concerns about discern location, please leave a comment. The next spell is a spell that, believe it or not, and this has less to do about reading and more about people just not thinking, have had this spell fail. And this is Disguise Self. It's an illusion glamour. First level Bard, first level Sorcerer Wizard, first level Trickery Domain. Components are verbal, semantic, casting time, standard action, range, you, which is personal, target, you, duration 10 minutes a level. Description: you make yourself, including clothing, armor, and weapons and equipment, look different. You can seem a foot shorter or taller, thin, fat, or in between. You cannot change your body type. For example, a human caster could look human, which is humanoid, or like any other human-shaped bipedal creature. Otherwise, the extent of the appearance changes is technically up to you. You could add or obscure a minor feature or look like an entirely... Oh, I just realized I didn't hit that. I feel smart. You're just staring at my hideous face. You can look like an entirely different person. This spell does not provide the ability or mannerisms of the chosen form, nor does it alter the perspective, tactile, touch, or audio, sound properties of you or your equipment. A battle axe made to look like a dagger still functions like a battle axe. If you use this spell to create a disguise, you get a +10 bonus on the disguise check. A creature that interacts with the glamour gets a will save throw to recognize it is an illusion. For example, a creature that touches you and realizes that the tactile sensation did not match what the visual one would be, entitled to a saving throw. So pretty much, it's a pretty decent one, and the only real way to bypass it is touch. So if you pat the shoulder of someone that's dressed as a powerful archmage, and you realize that, I'm feeling leather, not robe. If you pass the saving throw, you get to, yeah, you're patting leather. You're pretty, it's like, yeah, that guy's glamored. You know he's glamored. But if you fail, your mind kind of just shoves it off. But the thing that a lot of people mess up is they, for some weird reason, think it's a polymorph spell. Yes, I said that right. They think it's some sort of polymorph. Because they read it and think, oh, I can look like any other humanoid. Yay, because I'm human. Yay. Lizard folk are humanoids. It's like, well, they're monstrous humanoids. Humanoids. Well, their shape is human, so now I get to run around as a lizard folk. It's like, realize it's a disguise. They're like, yeah, a good one. Now watch me swim and smack a person with my tail. It's like, you smack a person with your tail? It's like, yeah. So your tail you didn't have till you used the spell to look like another humanoid creature. Yeah. Well, the lizard folk you're trying to infiltrate sees you smacking them with your tail, but the tail's passing through them, because that's technically part of the illusion that has no substance, so there's nothing for them to hit, so their brain will go, what? So they're definitely getting a will saving throw, and technically they would get some sort of bonus, because again, there's nothing, they're just seeing your tail pass through them. So it's like, no. Then there's the fact that it doesn't change smell either. You don't smell like that creature. So if you're around creatures with scent or a good ability to pick up on scents, you're not going to fool them. So I'm going to infiltrate this pack of gnolls so I can get information from them. Forgetting that they're not speaking a language he can understand in the first place, so it's going to be really obvious there's something wrong with him. But gnolls can smell. They have a pretty good sense of smell. You'll walk up to them, say something in a language they're not speaking, and they're going to look at you funny, and then they're going to be able to, I smell human, as they stare at you, because, well, they smell human. You're not speaking a language they can understand. So at minimum, they're going to pin you down and to ask you questions. And as they're pinning you down to restrain you, because obviously there's something wrong with you because you smell like a human and you sound like a human, they're going to eventually go, he's using magic to not look human. Because people forget those things. And also, it doesn't add features that wouldn't normally be there when it comes to whether or not a hand passes through it. If you're a human, you don't have a snout. So, if they go to grab your snout, they're going to do that. And then everyone's going to stop and look and go, why is your hand inside his snout? It's because they don't think of those things. They don't think if they, because a lot of people thinking they're super awesome, glamorous, or illusionist don't think of the obvious. They 100% rely on, they need to do a saving throw. It's like, yes, this is the same person that if the table was turned and they went to grab a knoll by the snout and his hand went inside his face, I couldn't tell them that because if I went, okay, well, you get a saving throw. Why? Well, because technically your hand does this. They'll go, oh, I automatically pass because there's no way my hands are going to go inside at all. A snout. It's like, even though they'll, it's like even though they'll argue that they don't automatically have their disguise revealed, despite that, because like, well, they get a saving throw to see if they realize it or not. It's like, you can't have it both ways. You can't have it always 100% work, even when it obviously should fail when you're doing it, but then have it automatically fail when you're the one doing the touching. You can't have it both ways. And they want it both ways because illusions are pretty simple and pretty stupid. Even the really good ones. Because once you realize that, hey, it's not working because someone did this, either A, what you're doing is stupid, like obliviously done stupid, or B, it hasn't realized the person's done that yet. You want them not to realize that stupidity yet. So when it comes to, hey, you did this, which ruins this, there's another spell eventually get where a party member did do that. But a big thing to remember for a disguised self is don't choose a humanoid race that adds features that you cannot physically back up. Because it doesn't quite work. It's like with the lowering of your height, only works if no one does anything to challenge your height. By challenge your height, and a lot of players actually have done this. It's like, well, I'm just gonna swing my sword over his head as a like intimidation display, forgetting that the person they're doing it to, and yes, they knew they were under disguised self to make themselves seem shorter, literally went to the absolute shortest they could, so that way they can try to appear to be a dwarf, just a really tall dwarf, and because it's like right above their head, like from what you see, right above their head. Yeah, it's like, I'll give you a miss chance. They rolled, well, because a foot is quite a lot of space. So if you're swinging right above what you perceived head, and there's about this much space that's the head, yeah, you're swinging at their face at that point. So it's like, yay. Or if they're like, I'm going to go for a foot taller to seem as tall as I want, because I want to seem like I'm a human and like just a short human instead of a halfling. Okay. And then they decide to start walking where they could normally walk because they forget that they did that height adjustment and part of their head's popping up through a table because, well, they're not physically that taller because you seem a foot taller. And it's like, well, you just ruined it. Why? Well, you're normally 3 foot tall. You just did stuff to be a foot taller, so you're 4 feet in this. You just walked under a table that stands 3.5 feet off the ground. So there's a 6-inch clearance for you, but there's also 6 inches of the illusion you walking over, going through the top part of the table. Because what the is? People might go, it's a ghost, or there's something wrong. It's a players aren't always the smartest, despite the fact that that spell is pretty useful. So if you have any questions about Disguise Self, please leave a comment. The next spell, I think it's a funny spell, is Disintegrate. This is a transmutation, level 7 destruction domain, 6th level sorcerer wizard spell. Components are verbal, semantic, material / divine focus. Casting time, 1 action, range, medium, effect, ray. Duration, instantaneous. Saving throw, fortitude for partial object. Spell resistance, yes. Description, a thin green ray springs from the point of your finger. You must make a successful range touch attack to hit. Any creature struck by the ray takes 2d6 points of damage per cast level to a maximum of 40. So yeah, you can just do way too much damage to it. Any creature reduced to 0 or fewer hit points by the spell is entirely disintegrated, leaving behind only a trace of fine dust. A disintegrated creature's equipment is unaffected. When used against an object, the ray simply disintegrates as much as 1 10-foot cube of non-living matter. Thus, the spell disintegrates only part of any very large object or structure targeted. The ray affects even object constructed entirely of force, such as Bigby's forceful hand or a wall of force, but does not magically effects such as Globe of Invulnerability or Anti-Magic. So those things can still be used to counter it. A creature or object that is made a successful fortitude saving throw is partially affected, taking only 5d6 points of damage. If the damage reduces the creature or object to 0 or fewer hit points, it is entirely disintegrated. Only the first creature or object struck by the effect, only the first creature or object struck can be affected. Thus, that is, the ray affects only one target per casting. Arcane material component: a lodestone and a pinch of dust. So this spell is really potent. So you do towards a ranged touch attack to smack them with it, and you want them to fail that fortitude saving throw. So anything you have that can increase your saving throws, go gung ho. Even though this is going to, depending on the source, it's either going to be a base 16 or a base 17 for DC. And because the corresponding skill is going to be at least a +3 from the casting stat, so it's going to be a 19 or a 20 for the DC, which isn't that bad, except for the fact that around that level you're dealing with things that normally have a 10 or higher on their fortitude. So you really, really need to get something to increase the DC, or at least hope that it fails. Because again, if it fails, it can do a lot of damage. 2d6 per cast level to a max of 40d6. That is ridiculous. For reference, the fireball only does a maximum of 10d6. So that's somewhere between 10 to 60 damage. This is 4 times that, which is somewhere between like 40 to 200 and... If there's... Yeah, it's 40 to 240. So the damage output is drastically high, but only if the creature or object fails the saving throw. Because if they pass, they only take 5d6 points of damage, which is somewhere between 5 to 30. So there's a huge difference between 40 to 240 and 5 to 30. Excuse me. That is less than a quarter of That's like 12, without doing proper math, that's like easily 12% of the average damage if they failed. So it's like, it's huge. Or like yeah, like that's 1/8 the damage. So it's a huge difference. But needless to say, it's still an extremely effective spell, because it's one of those spells that if you get it off, everyone's going to sweat. That's your opponent, because they're like, oh dear God, I need to pass this. Because again, if they fail, they're boned. Because that's a lot of damage they're taking. If they're not, if you go, I'm going to disintegrate it, and they're like, I don't care. You should worry, because if they're not concerned about passing that saving throw or taking 40 die 6 points of damage, there might be a problem. But if you have any questions or anything about disintegrate, please leave a comment. The next spell is a spell I don't see actually really used that often. Because, well, people just don't like using it for some weird reason. And it is Dismissal. This is an abjuration, level 4 cleric, level 5 sorcerer wizard. Components are verbal, semantic, divine focus, casting time 1 action, range, close. Target 1 extraplanar creature. Duration instantaneous. Saving throw will negate. See text. Spell resistance, yes. Description: this spell forces an extraplanar creature back to its proper plane if it fails a special will save. The DC is equal pretty much spell save DC minus creature's hit die plus your caster level. If the spell is successful, the creature is instantly whisked away, but there is a 20% chance of actually sending the subject to a plane other than its own. So this spell, in all respects, is actually quite stupid. I don't mean stupid as in it sucks, I mean stupid as it's pretty broken. Because even if you look at the base saving throw, which is going to be either 15 for clerics, 14 for clerics, 15 for wizards and sorcerers, not counting your key attribute. That's not necessarily bad, because again, it's mid-level spell. Then you take the creature's hit dice and minus it off of that, and you go, okay, well, that kind of makes it sucks. Because, well, what if it's a high hit die creature? Because if you're going for like a Baylor that has like over 20 hit dice, you're kind of boned, because if it fails, it rolled a nat 1. But then you have to look at your effective caster level for the spell. So if your effective caster level is equal to or greater than the hit die of the creature you're trying to dismiss, you still have a chance to actually have it fail, because then it's going against the actual DC. You only have to worry about creatures whose hit dice equals or exceeds your level, because it's kind of like it's getting extra bonuses, because again, its hit die is being used as a subtractor from the DC, while your level is being used as an additive. So your level counters the minus that you're getting from the hit die. So you really, really, really hope that it has a low hit die. Because if you cast a spell on a creature, you see the DM roll relatively low, and he goes, oh, it passed. And you're like, he rolled low. My normal DC, does it, to guess that spell, it's going to be at least a +2. My normal DC is a 16. 9th level caster, so that's a 25, which is pretty high. So if he rolled low, which relatively low, depending on who you speak to, some people will go, well, lower than a 15 is low. It's like, no, that's still quite high. Normally low is single digits on the D20. So if you see them roll that low, it means one of two things. A, the creature has a decent amount of hit dice, and B, it has a decent will saving throw. Because if the will saving throw is high enough, then it doesn't care about adding its hit die. Or if its hit die is high enough, it doesn't care about the will, adding its will because it's low enough. So that's why having good guesstimations on the hit die of the creature is pretty important. But still, the spell I can't remember the last time it was used. Even though it can be very useful. So there's really no reason to use it, with the exception of it has to be an extraplanar creature. So an outsider of some side. So if you see, say it won't work on tieflings or Azamars because they're native. They're not extraplanar. But if you saw a imp or a lemur or a vrock or like a bearded devil, you can dismiss those. And if you succeed, it's like, yeah, it goes back to its home. With a 25% chance it goes somewhere where it's not its home. But still, it's gone. You're like getting rid of it. It now has to find a way back. So it's still a decent spell. If you have any questions about dismissal, please leave a comment. The next spell starts the chain of dispels. And it starts with Dispel Chaos. This is an abjuration lawful spell. Cast a level 5th level cleric, 5th level law domain, 4th level paladin. Description: this spell functions like Dispel Evil, except that you are surrounded by constant blue lawful energy, and the spell affects chaotic creatures and spells rather than evil ones. Which means we have to read Dispel Evil to know the basis of it. And this also, once we cover Dispel Evil, it pretty much then also covers Dispel Good, Dispel Law, because those are the 4 important alignments. So pretty much we're covering 4 spells in one with this one. Dispel Evil is an Abjuration Good, 5th level Cleric, 5th level Good Domain, 4th level Paladin. Components are Verbal, Semantic, Divine Focus, Casting Time 1 action, Range, Touch, Target or Targets. You and touched evil creature from another. You and a touched evil creature from another plane, or you and an enchantment or evil spell on a touched creature or object. Duration: 1 round, around a level, or until discharge. Whatever comes first. Saving throw: see text. Spell resistance: see text. Description: shimmering bright holy energy surrounds you. This power has 3 effects. First, you get a +4 defection bonus to AC against attacks by evil creatures. Second, on making a successful melee touch attack against an evil creature from another plane, you can choose to drive that creature back to its home plane. This creature can negate the effect with a successful will saving throw. Spell resistance applies. This use discharges and ends the spell. Third, with a touch, you can automatically dispel any one enchantment spell cast by an evil creature or any one evil spell. Exceptions: spells that can't be dispelled by Dispel Magic can't be dispelled by Dispel Evil. Saving throws and spell resistance do not apply to this effect. This use discharges and ends the spell. Which, this is a very good spell. Because, again, you because it's necessarily you get a bonus to deflection on AC against attacks by evil creatures. So therefore, if it's an evil creature, it's harder for it to hit you. Yay. If you know it's an extraplanar creature, you could use up the spell, pretty much end the spell by going, hey, I touched you, now be gone. So, pass or fail, you're no longer protected by Dispel Evil, and the evil entity may or may not be back to its own plane. And third of, there's an evil enchantment or an evil spell in effect, or a spell cast by, well, it specifically actually says cast by an evil creature. So this enchantment or spell that's in effect was cast by this creature. I'm using this up, and I'm canceling out the spell. And it's automatically dispel any one enchantment or any one spell cast by, it does say evil spell. Cast by an evil, any one enchantment cast by an evil creature or any one evil spell. So if someone's using like a dominate person, you can dispel that. Or if because it does say evil spell that's being cast. So if a spell has that descriptor, you can go, because it's affecting me, I'm canceling it because that's an evil spell. So it's still really, really good, because a lot of creatures that you fight in D&D are either going to be animals with the neutral alignment, or they're going to be evil. There's a lot of them that are like that. If it's not evil, you've either made a mistake, or you someone made some sort of mistake, because again, animals, or it's something that's not normally evil, but you somehow managed to get it to fight you. And Dispel Evil is the basis for Dispel Chaos, Dispel Good, and Dispel Law. They all work the same way. So whatever one you have in effect gives you a +4 against creatures of that alignment for your AC. So if you have Dispel Good, any good creatures are harder to hit you. If you Dispel Law, it works against lawful creatures. So they affect negatively the creatures of that alignment for trying to hit you. Then if you're trying to dispel them, if they're that alignment, you can use it to dispel it. Or stop an enchantment spell with that descriptor, or cancel a enchantment that was cast by a creature of that alignment. So all in all, it's still really good, but it's also one of the spells that people just don't read it. They assume all the dispel spells work the exact same way, as in, hey, this is an enchantment I don't want on here. I cast Dispel Evil on it. It's a dispel. It's like, well, you cast it, you touch it to try to use that charge, so you just wasted the spell, because that's not an evil spell. And the spell wasn't cast by an evil creature, so no, the effect is still there. So they get a little upset, but it's like, it's primarily defense. You hit yourself with it. So that way you can have that bonus and have the chance to get rid of an enchantment cast by an evil creature, or a spell that's currently being cast by an evil spell with that descriptor. So it's still good, because like Dispel Evil technically dispels, or can be used to dispel Good, because Dispel Good is an evil spell, just how Dispel Evil is a good spell. Dispel Chaos is a lawful spell. Dispel Law is a chaotic spell. So they can be used to get rid of each other's, because each other's match each other's there. Because Dispel Evil works on, can negate good, Dispel Evil counters good spells, that have been cast. So you can use the spell evil to get rid of the spell good on that creature by going, ha, you no longer have that good spell. And the same thing with like dispel law. You can run over to the person who has the spell chaos on and go, ha, now your dispel chaos doesn't work. So you can do that, ha ha, nan, a boo boo, stick your head in doo doo. I just got rid of your protection spell protecting you from me because, well, stick your head in doo doo. And the reason, like I said, the two reasons people don't normally use it is like, one, they think it works like dispel magic. It sort of does. And two, they don't realize that it can actually help them. Well, I mean, technically there's a third reason, and it's because it's like, it affects you, and if you're trying to touch an object or a creature that meets this criteria, then you can technically have it affect those creatures, but it affects them like this. They go, what do you mean I can't cast a spell evil on my ally for them to have the protection? Well, it specifically says you get this bonus, not targeted creature gets the bonus. You get the bonus. It is technically a self-touch. I mean, it's a self spell. So there really is no perk to trying to give it to someone else unless you think they're under the effects of an evil spell or a spell or enchantment cast by an evil creature. So if you have any questions about any of those 4 dispels, which are dispel chaos, dispel evil, dispel good, and dispel law, please leave a comment. But that is the last spells we're going to cover for today. Thank you for joining me. And remember to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.